Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Well, the terrorist has been named in the Nice, France attack. And imagine my surprise, once again, his name is Mohamed. Now, I'm quite surprised that we got that information from the media so soon, but you'd really have no idea if you took a look at the New York Times or CNN this morning. You'd think that it was a rogue truck that somehow became animated, plowed into these people. The headline, truck attack on French crowd, scores die. CNN says truck rams crowd, 84 dead in Nice. So this is just like when there is some sort of a mass shooting, they say gun shoots. It's never putting the blame where it belongs. And as we know, suppression of information is key. It's a key tactic used during wartime. And indeed, we are in a war. But that's not all. We can kind of go back a few months. This was actually a story that Paul Joseph Watson broke yesterday. Now, this was hours before this attack took place. So this story kind of got suppressed with all of the news coming out of France. And this is actually a report that the French government covered up torture of the Bataclan victims. And this was in order to avoid offending Muslims. Margaret, I know you have some more on that.
I do. Good evening, Leanne. So we're talking about the French government's inquiry into what happened in the Bataclan theater in November. And the shocking, startling reality of what these terrorists did to these people, these Islamic extremists, it's just not coming out. And the shocking part of the story is that the French government tried to censor the media from reporting it. They withheld it from the victims, of the families, you know, the people that actually this happened to, it was perpetuated against. And they withheld this information. Why? Because it's part of the sanitation process, so we don't actually know what's going on. We know that the gruesome torture included cutting off the genitals of victims, women that obviously they couldn't cut off their genitals. They would stab them repeatedly in the vagina, disembowel them, chop off their heads, torture them graphically. And if the media had just done their job and talked to eyewitness accounts of survivors, they would have known that. But the steps that the French government took to ensure that this information never got out, and this inquiry, it's sort of a leakage, if you will. They were trying to keep this in. It's so shocking. This would be the first thing you would report.
Right. Well, they don't want people to see the gruesome images when they don't want to offend a certain population. Of course, it was perfectly fine to use that photo of the dead child washed on the beach to push for more immigration. But they don't want you to see the gruesome images of the children who were mowed down in the streets last night in France. They don't want you to see that. That's too terrible. That's too gruesome. But it's perfectly fine if it's going to further an agenda.
Or men having their genitals cut off and brutally tortured while they were still alive. You know, their bodies were so severely bloated. And the startling aspects of looking into this case, the French government, they blocked the media from reporting the torture of the Bataclan terrorist against the victims. Not only did they do that, but they tried to whitewash it once the information came out. They said, you know what, these bodies, they were blown up. They were so badly, you know, we really aren't sure. We didn't find a knife on the scene, so we can't really confirm that those are knife marks. Well, really, what did they do? I mean, honestly, really? Their genitals were removed prior to killing them. I mean, it doesn't get much clearer than that. And I was looking at older media reports. So in the times of the Vietnam War, the barbaric nature of that, it was shown graphically by the media. And people were able to decide for themselves exactly what the truth was. In this case, it is a very hardline effort to deny the truth, to sanitize it, to whitewash it, to further the agenda that the mass immigration policy is withstanding. The French people have been disarmed. And when you see something like that happen and people that are motivated to brutalize and gruesomely maim bodies before murdering people, it's just, it's like all hell's broken loose,
right?
Honestly.
Right, and that's the thing that people need to see. It is gruesome. You don't want to see it. You want to hide your eyes. But this is the reality of what is happening in these countries, that when they hate the West and they're willing to do anything to take it down. Speaking also of whitewashing of this killer, now they're kind of saying they're quoting his family, who says he had nothing to do with Islam. He wasn't religious at all. He never went to the mosque. He drank, did drugs. He beat his wife. So, you know, I guess that means he just maybe beat her a little bit harder than is allowed, because, of course, moderate Muslims believe you can lightly beat your wife. That's perfectly fine. So even here, they're kind of running with this thing. Was he truly Islamic, or was the killer just depressed about the breakup of his marriage? Right, because whenever I have a bad breakup, I decide to go plow through thousands of people for a mile.
Don't you, though? Don't we all? That's exactly the appropriate response. We're, of course, talking about Mohamed Boulal, 31 years old, the Tunisian immigrant that assimilated into the French society, French culture, ultimately landed in the French Riviera, incredibly expensive part of France, and he was working as a driver. Been looking at his background all morning long. You know, he killed 84 people. Let's not forget that. And the stories that you were absolutely right. A truck killed these people, anything but the actual Islamic extremist killing these people. And he was said to have committed petty crimes, theft, prior to this major incident, but he didn't really show any signs. So I went looking for a sign, and I know you and I talked about this article before. He traveled to the United States in 2014 to visit a mosque in Brooklyn. Now, this mosque, it actually has a Facebook page, and it's got the address of the mosque. It has his Facebook page that's actually liked the mosque. And you really don't know if you're living in a radical mosque zone. And then a story like this comes out and you're like, wait a second, this man that plowed into 84 people, killing children, women, infants brutally, was visiting a mosque, not on a do not fly list. Nothing's stopping him from coming into the United States and becoming more radicalized. This is coming out of the Daily Caller, and it's really unbelievable. The most shocking part of this, 430,000 likes this facility has on Facebook.
Right. I mean, it's just totally shocking. Totally. How do we stop this is what people are wondering. And, you know, we have Newt Gingrich coming out and saying anyone who is Muslim, we need to just go ahead and ask them, do you agree with Sharia law? We need to, if you do, it's not compatible with Western society. You know, that is sort of an extremist take on this, but we are in a war at this point. We are at war with an ideology. And obviously there are plenty of Muslims here in America that love this country, love being a part of the West, love the fact that they live under the Constitution and not Sharia law. And
we're not marginalizing anyone here. We're pointing out the fact that there is a radical ideology called Islamic extremism. And the fact that Speaker Gingrich came out, and Hannity, he actually backpedaled. He was like, well, I didn't really mean that. I think we should test them. You know, give a Sharia law test. Okay, that's a new one on me. But he's speaking to the sentiment that we have people residing in the country that wholeheartedly abide by Sharia law, that accept the tenets of Sharia law, that do not respect the U.S. Constitution, respect our society, respect any aspect of the freedoms that we have under the Bill of Rights. And Sharia law is their law. Now, what he was saying was we need to test, and he's been really hammered all day to the point where I noticed he was backpedaling just a little.
Of course. Well, you've got to check your privilege. You can't say things that are going to be offensive to a privileged minority of people. And now kind of switching gears here, because a lot of people are saying with these recent attacks, officials are obviously likely very concerned with what's going to be happening at the Republican National Convention. You and I are going to be reporting from the ground there, as well as a whole bunch of the crew. Alex Jones as well will be giving a major speech there. So we're all kind of worried about the potentiality for some terror there. Now, we know it could be coming from George Soros zombie protesters, people who are going to be really kind of going against Donald Trump, who has called for the disallowing of Muslims to enter this country. And of course, this with Newt Gingrich, this is probably going to exacerbate those feelings.
You know, and you're absolutely right. We're going to be in Cleveland, Leanna and I both, and the rest of the Infowars staff, including, well, many of the Infowars staff, including Alex himself. It's so exciting. I can't wait to be there. I can't wait to see you guys there. We love you. We love your support. But just touching base back to what you said about the possibility of an act of terror. And I just want to say, we live in a free society, Leanne, and we practice liberty, and we wholeheartedly believe in love and liberty. And the only way for our liberty to stop is if we start practicing fear. So we're going to be there. We're going to be out in full force. We're going to be covering it. I'm so excited. I can't wait. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Yeah, absolutely. We are part of the liberty movement, and that's what we need to keep our eyes on the prize. So that'll be reporting. I think we're going to start reporting actually Sunday. We'll get some reports coming out of Cleveland there. And then, of course, moving on to the DNC in Philly. Thank you, as always, Margaret. Glad to have you on board. And thank you all for tuning in to the news tonight. I know we've got just some incredible breaking news here on a Friday night. Going into the weekend, this is how it always ends up. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure and hit the subscribe button. And you can also become a subscriber to prisonplanet.tv. sharing your username and password with up to 20 people at the same time. This is key information, and you need to share this with the world. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you here Monday, 7 p.m. Central.
Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water, pairing the unprecedented superfiltration power of an all-new gravity block core with a hybrid chromatic shell. It removes up to 99.999% of impurities, including bacteria, viruses, fluoride, disinfectants, volatile organic contaminants, and hormones. Filter capacity up to 5,000 gallons. Stainless steel construction, easy assembly, low maintenance. Replacement filters are simple to install. And now, as part of an exclusive limited time introductory offer, you can save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive free shipping and $20 off. Go to InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.